Welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Shannon.
And I'm Mike Hyatt.
And this is the Bourbon Road. On this full episode, Mike, we're going to dive into a little bit of Beam, right?
Yeah, it's a new program they have, barreled and boxed. It's going to come straight to your front door. So, you know, Jacob Beam, he would have to ship his stuff down the river, right?
Yeah.
To get it to his consumers. But, you know, we're a little bit more modern times, and now it's going to come straight to your door.
It's been a while back when Kentucky became a shipping state.
Yep.
In other words, it passed the legislature in Kentucky. And
about this time last year, right?
Yeah, the governor signed off on it. And yeah, but I just think it takes time for people to get organized and figure out how they're going to do it. And I think probably the carriers like UPS and FedEx, they got to figure it out because normally they're refusing liquor shipments in Kentucky, but now they're accepting them.
Sure.
And the distilleries have to it takes time. So I kind of expected it to turn on right away and start shipping this stuff, but it doesn't work that way.
Well, they're even limited in what they're doing now because Beam is only going to allow 500 members into this club. So if you're listening to this right now, you need to jump on the website and try to get in the club if you want to be in this club. And we're going to talk about that more. 500 memberships. But here's the other kicker. You got to live in DC with a DC billing address, or you got to live in Kentucky with a Kentucky billing address.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're going to want to make sure they're not breaking any rules.
Yeah. So if you want to pause for a second on our podcast, go over to their website and check this out. Or if you want to listen to the whole podcast all the way through and then try to be one of the 500 members. But I will tell you, the membership's going to go fast.
I mean, go ahead and hit that pause button. Mike and I will sit here and wait on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You might want to pull over to the side of the road to do it if you're listening to us in the car.
Well, I think people are going to be a bit surprised by what comes in that first shipment. So when you're a member of this club, you can expect a shipment on a regular basis.
So what you're going to get is you're going to get a shipment every 3 months. It'll be 2 bourbons or 2 whiskeys in that box. Now,
and it's not going to be stuff you can just walk in and get.
No, heck no. I don't think I'd ever seen a little book on a shelf before in a liquor store. Never. And good Lord, we've been in a lot of liquor stores. Have you seen one?
When Chapter 1 first came out, I saw them, but I haven't seen any since then.
Yeah, so they're on Chapter 5 now. You know, we don't see that bottle very often. It probably goes pretty quickly. So the first box that you would get is 2 bottles of Little Book, Chapter 1 and Chapter 5. The box itself weighed about 15 pounds. I thought, man, this thing's humongous when it showed up. Beam was kind enough to ship me and you the first box for this, which, man, we are so grateful for that.
And they're not shipping these yet.
No,
this program has not launched yet. So when this episode releases on Wednesday, the 25th, you still have time.
You probably have an hour or less, I would think, to get your name in there. Probably less than that.
Okay, hit the pause button.
So let's go ahead and go through those 4 boxes, what you get. We know that in the first box, you're going to get a Chapter 1 and Chapter 5 of Little Book. That's going to run you $270. Your credit card will get billed for it being part of that club. Then in the 3 months after that, you're going to get another box of bourbon. Now, they haven't said what's going to come, but we do know it's going to be $210. So it's not going to be the same price every time, but we do know that it's going to be some stuff that hasn't been put in bottles yet. It's very limited. The best that Beam has to offer. And
we can pretty much expect that it's going to be in that $200 to $300 range. Yeah, and there's no guarantees on it, but it's probably they're going to try and keep it in that range. Right?
Yeah, $100 a bottle or $150 a bottle, somewhere in that range, I would think. But still, what would that cost you to go hunt a bottle of this or 2 bottles of Little Book.
Well, let's talk about chapter 1, Little Book chapter 1, and then we're going to get to drinking Little Book chapter 1.
It's sitting in our glass.
Yeah, sitting in our glass. So let's talk about this for a second. If somebody decides they want to collect the Little Book series, they want to start at number 1 and they want to work their way up and get to number 5 and then, collect future releases. They got to get that number 1 first, and it released in 2017. Chances are going to be pretty tough to find in a liquor store near you.
Most certainly.
You might get lucky in an out-of-the-way place and run across a bottle, but chances are you're probably going to have to source this online from an online reseller, right? Like somebody that deals in rare spirits.
Sure. Somewhere around $2.99 for that bottle, up to $7.99 for that first chapter 1. And then the prices range in between there. So you're looking at some money.
Yeah, so it's a bit rare right now. So this program is going to give you access to that chapter 1 bottle. You probably normally are not going to drop that kind of cash for it, but
probably not. And the original price on this bottle was $80.
Right.
But it's 2017, it's went up a little bit in price.
It would be nice, if maybe next box came with a book chapter 2 in it and then something else, right? And then you're like, oh, I can put them all together and get the collection. Right.
Well, that would kind of go against me and you. What we believe is open your damn bottle, right?
That's right.
It's not meant to sit there and collect dust. It's meant there to be drank and enjoyed and stuff like that. So with that, we've already cracked this bottle up and we got it in our glass sitting here. I say cheers.
Cheers. Let's check it out. It's got an interesting nose on it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the specifics, because as I nose this thing, I'm not thinking bourbon.
Well, it's a blended straight whiskeys, 4 of them to be exact. You got a 4-year-old bourbon, a 13-year-old corn whiskey, a 6-year-old 100% malt whiskey, and a 6-year-old high rye whiskey. Now that's quite the mixture right there. 128.2 proof. Man, it's got a beautiful nose on it, doesn't it?
The nose is nice, but it's not. So if you're thinking bourbon, when you take this up to your nose, you can get that thought out of your head right now. It is, it's a bit unique. A little bit of oak, but it's like a young oak. Not like like a aged and charred oak to it. It's kind of a youthful oak, I think.
I'm getting, when you get caramel and it's like that little square that you can open up, it's got that funky hard plastic wrapper on it and you open it up. I get that, like that chewy caramel.
A little bit of corn. Now there's corn whiskey in this, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm definitely getting that. I mean, there's definitely some malted barley in there too from that single malt, right?
Yeah.
There's a single malt. Yeah, I would say this nose is a nice representation of what's in this whiskey. You get a little bit of all that, but it's it's different. It's unique.
Well, and that's what they're offering you in this club right here is something different, something unique, something you can't get your hands on. I think it's a great idea. They're not the first to do this, right? Angel's Envy has already done it. It's very hard to get some of their bottles. So, is Jim Beam following along with that? I think so. Everybody's going to have a club eventually.
Yeah. And I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea that if you choose to be a part of something like that, it's kind of like a la carte thing. I want to be a part of Jim Beam's club, but I really don't care about X, Y, and Z's club over here. So,
sure.
So you can kind of pick and choose and if there's a particular profile that appeals to you, then you got that choice.
Well, I'll say cheers, Jim. Let's taste this thing.
Let's taste it. Got a little bit of rice sizzle to it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what's the proof on this again? One more time.
128.2.
Okay. This is a spicy liquid. And it's not just spicy because of the rye. There's some rye in here, some high rye bourbon, right? But it's got some zing because of the alcohol level.
Man, if you like spice, this is it right here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got that sweetness up forward, but like that spicy sweetness that we always talk about, right?
You know, the transition between the front of the palate and the back of the palate, kind of, it's a little, it's definitely aromatic. It's definitely spicy on the back, a little sweet up front, but that goes away so fast. Starts sizzling as it goes back along your tongue. A little bit drying and a little bit nutty, but I'm not getting the caramel vanillas kind of stuff. It's not bourbon.
Right when it hits you the first, I think that corn does give you that sweetness. But like you said, as it goes back, man, it kind of just disappears and falls off there, right? And because it's not bourbon, you would expect that it is kind of drying. It's got that spice. Atomic Fireball is what I get when I first take the sip.
Yeah, but you know, it's Atomic Fireball like, but kind of without the cinnamon. I think. I don't know. If it's a little bit sweeter, I might be able to say, yeah, Atomic Fireball.
Still a nice drinking whiskey though. As I keep sipping on it, you know,
it's unique on the palate as it is on the nose. It's a different animal. You definitely are not going to be thinking bourbon when you taste this.
You know what I get is a little bit of buttered cornbread on that back end.
It does have the bakery shop going on. It does have kind of that buttery note to it. I agree with you on that, Mike.
I don't think I've ever tasted anything taste like cornbread before. Or you like cornbread?
I do like cornbread.
That's kind of a Southern thing. I always think cornbread is. Would you eat it for dessert?
You mean with milk on it? With milk
on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I normally don't. I like cornbread with butter.
Let's get back to talking about the box set, right? So, you know, I think the cost over a year would be right around $1,000, anywhere from $800 to $1,000, right? And the initial shock of that might be overwhelming to some people, but it's not going to be $1,000 at once. It'll be that $200 to $300 every 3 months, every quarter, right? So you're not overwhelmed with a money thing.
So they're going to hit your card for $250, or $270, or $210, or whatever it is, and then you got 3 months to kind of chip away at that, sort of knock it back down to zero before your next one hits.
Yeah, so if you know you have a significant other that watches that stuff, and you might want to explain that hey, I'm not going to be out looking for these other bottles. You know, if you're just a Jim Beam nut, you know, that you really love all their stuff and you want to get your hands on their limited releases, this is it.
Yeah.
This is going to be your way. And then think how much gas, how much time you're going to save by bringing it straight to your door.
I definitely will say that this is void of caramel on the palate. I did pick up just a hint of it on the nose, but there's definitely none on the palate. This has got a hug that's pretty significant, but the finish is, I mean, it's not long, but it's not short. It's kind of somewhere.
It's medium, right?
Yeah, somewhere right in a saddle, right?
So remind everybody what we're drinking. We're drinking the Little Book Chapter 1, the Easy. I don't know why they called it the Easy. I had to kind of look that up, but it's definitely not easy drinking. That first sip, anyways, is not easy drinking.
I mean, it's definitely a big boy's whiskey or a big girl's whiskey. You know, it's not for the faint of heart or the faint of palate.
So some questions that might come up: how do taxes work for barreled and boxed? In addition to each cost of each shipment, your order confirmation email will show taxes charged based on your state or residence. In Kentucky, that would be 6%. So you just kind of got to remember that you're going to get that tax.
And Washington, D.C. is what, 24%? Oh, I'm joking.
I think it's 11%.
11%, yeah.
Which is a little bit more. And they have a state excise tax of $1.92 a gallon in D.C. So just kind of remember that. There's a sales tax of 10.25. So I don't know. You're going to get taxed on it for sure.
Know your taxes.
Yeah, and then becoming a box of barrel means you receive unique shipments of whiskey from James B. Beam Distilling Company. They'll ship you a box out every 3 months, totaling 4 boxes a year. Each shipment will contain 2 bottles of their most sought-after bourbons or newest releases sent directly from them to you. I mean, how can you beat that? I still am boggled in my mind that they're offering this. Is this going to kill the secondary market right here?
You never know. But if you've been one to go out and chase around to try and find a little book bottle, here's your opportunity to sit at home and collect it at your front door.
Yeah. So another good question that might come up is, how long does your membership last? Well, they're excited to have you in their family and doing this. And once you're a member, you'll continue to receive 2 of their best bourbons each season. But if you needed to cancel, they understand, and they have a place where you can contact them and take your name off the list. You can't pause your membership or anything like that. We'll get into some other questions on the second half, but I think, I still love that they're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm excited about whiskey in the mail, period. Now, we've been the recipients of a lot of whiskey in the mail, and I can tell you, well, you can probably tell more than I can, but it's pretty exciting to have that box show up. I had one show up today, and it had tequila in it, and I'm a big fan, and you've heard me say it in the past, big fan of illegal tequila, and I received a box today from my company. You know, they taking care of me on my birthday. They sent me 3 bottles of illegal, and man, I'm pretty excited, Mike. We're going to have to sit down and sip on that.
Drink some tequila.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do travel that other road, the gin road and the tequila road.
Well, I'm a little different. I like, and some of our whiskey drinkers are going to be shocked by this, but I do like some vodka.
Not by itself, though.
Well, it just depends. If it's potato vodkas,
yeah.
Is one of my things. And then the rum, being a sailor for so many years, how could you not love some good rum?
Well, I think between the two of us, we've got all the bases covered, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we've both traveled the world and got to taste different things around the world, and we both have that open-mindedness where we realize what something is worth to us. We're always open-minded to try new foods, more different spirits from around the world. Does that make us better than anybody else? No, I just think we kind of have our eyes open to everything. And I think that's good for us.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this Little Book Chapter 1.
All right.
So we're drinking Jim Beam's Little Book Chapter 1. And this stuff right here, I'm telling you, if I was sitting at a bonfire in the backyard right now, and I'm sipping on this, I would be backing up from the fire because I don't need it. This would keep me just warm enough.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I've had this hug just building in my chest here ever since we started sipping on this, and it's substantial. The flavor is only sticking around a medium, like I said, about a medium finish, but that hug just won't go away.
I'd have to agree with you. It's a great whiskey, and to take that chance and to blend 4 different whiskeys like that, it definitely took an artist to do something like that and to make sure that it tasted right. Because I'm sure you could go definitely down the wrong rabbit hole, I guess. What they had to say about it, or what Beam had to say about it, that it's full body with caramel, oak, and spice. That's pretty much what we said, right? And then taste was slight caramel, oak notes, followed by a long peppery rye finish.
It's got it. It's got that long peppery rye finish. I don't know that it's long. It's medium for me, but it's a peppery finish and it's a rye finish. But Mike, I kind of didn't get too much of the caramel.
Really?
Yeah. See, on the nose a little bit, but not so much on the palate.
Just right there on that front end, I think. That first sip of this it attacked the palate.
Yeah.
But after that, you sip on a little more, and we both and I poured us some pretty good sized pours tonight.
Yeah. We're almost out, but
and a beautiful package this thing has too. I mean, it is kind of dressed up like a Kentucky gentleman. It's got that, what's that tie Kentucky gentleman?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but Colonel Sanders wears one. Little black tie.
Two tails
on it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a super nice bottle. There's nothing wrong with this. Take Booker's bourbon and step it up a notch. The box on these are a little bit nicer. It says Little Book on there. It's black kind of. And everybody will be able to see the photo I took in the field of this. I did a video. And really, Jim, this is probably the biggest box of bourbon we ever got before. Like, not the most bourbon, but the two biggest bottles, I would say. Me and you talked about it. I can't think of anything else we've gotten that we're like, wow.
Well, we've been pretty happy when opening some boxes,
Yeah.
but as far as, this was a great one, no doubt about it.
Well, Jim, another thing I wanted to talk about real fast was we got some big news the other day, right? We are going to be at Bourbon on the Banks with our own tent there, the Bourbon Road Lounge.
So a large lounge, right?
Yeah, we're going to have a 10 by 20 tent there. We're still working on our whiskey sponsor, meaning we're going to have whiskey at our tent.
There'll be a lot of whiskey in the tent.
Yeah, most definitely. And we might have some nice chairs there that you could purchase. You never can tell what we're going to have there, but it'll be a nice lounge set up. You can come hang out with us that day. We'll probably bring a recorder with us to talk to some of the bourbon roadies. October 23rd, you want to be in Frankfort, Kentucky. You want to hang out with us that day. Me and Jim are actually going to a bourbon auction the night before, a very limited bourbon auction. So glad that we got invited to that. And then we'll be on the 23rd. We'll be at the festival, Bourbon on the Banks, October 23rd. Come hang out at the Bourbon Road Lounge. Talk bourbon with us. Drink some whiskey with us. Have a great time. Our wives will be there. Might even have an old co-host there with us.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping he can make it. That'd be nice. But, it's an all-weekend affair, at least a Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
So I would plan on, making Frankfurt your sort of home base for that weekend and just enjoy bourbon in the fall, right?
Yeah, if you're a football fan, I looked at the football schedule, Jim, just to kind of peek and see what's going on that weekend. Kentucky's not playing that weekend, so we know that, hey, Kentucky fans can slip away and not have to worry about their football game. But there's not a whole lot of big football games going on that weekend. Anyways, right now in the top 25. So you can still have time to slip away and hang out with us that day. Nice fall weekend. It's not going to be too hot. Most bourbon festivals are right now, September, late August. It is hot outside right now.
It's a scorcher. It's a scorcher. So I'm looking forward to this. And hey, we might even have a little book there with us, huh?
Well, you never can tell what we'll bring with us. Well, I would say we're going to have some rye whiskey with us, right? We'll have some high rye bourbon with us. And I would think we'll probably bring a little bit of wheated bourbon with us.
Guarantee it.
That's what we like to drink. We're well-rounded.
Yeah, literally.
Not just in size, but with what we like to drink. So, yeah. Well, listeners, hang with us on the second half. We're going to crack open the second bottle, Little Book Chapter 5, and we'll continue talking about the Barreled in Box program from James B. Beam Distilling. We'll be right back with you.
All right, well, we are back, and in the first half, we got to sample Little Book Chapter 1, The Easy. And now in the second half, another little book. This one is Chapter 5, called
The Invitation.
The Invitation. Aptly named because they're inviting you to join their new whiskey club, right?
Yeah, barreled and boxed. I mean, how could you go wrong? A little bit more pricier if you were going to go buy this one. Retail would be $125. That's quite a bit of money, I think.
Now, you said in the first half that Little Book Chapter 1 introduced when it first came out at around $80.
Yeah.
And then now here we are 5 releases into the series, and now we're at $125.
Yeah, but the bourbon boom is continuing, right?
It's a good indication of how the market is trending, right?
Yeah, it's definitely trending up, and there's been a lot of other podcasts, other YouTubers that have talked about that and that trend for bourbon to keep rising. This one's 116.8 proof. It is a batch or a blend of 4 different whiskeys. You got a 2-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. You got a 3-year-old malted 100% rye whiskey, a 5-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and then a 15-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I mean, that's quite a lot right there.
So it's a little bit different than the first time. Well, the first time around, than the chapter 1.
Yep.
This mash bill is a little bit different. I shouldn't say mash bill. This mix bill, blend bill, is a little bit different than and the proof's a little bit less. We're about 10 to 12 points lower.
Yeah, and that's kind of opposite of what we usually do. We usually start at those lower proofs and then go higher. But in this one, we wanted to drink the chapter 1 first. And
sort of follow the series, right?
Yeah, follow the series and stuff.
All right, Mike. Well, let's check it out.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, now there's caramel and butterscotch on that one. Now that's a stark difference between this one and the one before. I'm not getting as much of the nose from the malted barley as I did before. This one's got a little bit more of a sort of a richer nose, a sweeter nose.
I get that more of a, this almost has a floral to me a little bit.
Yeah, the other one kind of, chapter 1 kind of had that kind of new oak to it, that kind of a, like a fresh barrel, right? A fresh barrel. And then this one's a little more aged oak.
That 15-year-old playing in there with those aromas and stuff. It smells nice, a little bit lighter than in color with this one. Still that golden amber. The other one was kind of a dark copper color.
It's sticking to the glass, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a taste.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, yeah, night and day. So this one, although it's not entirely bourbon, does lean a little bit more towards the bourbon family, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that. Not so aggressive on your palate, on all that spice and stuff the other one had. A little less kick to this one. This is very enjoyable.
The liquid's a bit thicker, too. It's got a lot more texture to it, a lot more viscosity. That might be why we're getting such amazing legs on the glass on this one. A little bit heavier liquid.
Yeah, I kind of dig this one right here. This is right up in my wheelhouse. I got a little bit more buttery on this one. A little bit more caramel sweetness. The aroma I was thinking about is a deep, dark rose.
Yeah, I'm going to say buttery caramel is a very good way to put it. Butterscotch is kind of a buttery caramel flavor, right? Definitely aged oak.
Yeah.
The rye spice is coming through, but I think you mentioned it was 100% malted rye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love malted ryes. I've always liked malted ryes. I'm not saying I can pick a malted rye out in here, but it's probably one of the reasons I like this one so much.
Well, definitely a great job by Freddie. He's not been in the bourbon game, even though he comes from a bourbon family, right? From the No family, from the Beam family. He's been working there since 2013. He's did almost everything in the distillery he could possibly do. And then the brainchild came out for this little book series. And man, what a beautiful series and a great job he's doing at it.
Yeah, I think he has a love for rye whiskeys and the spicy side of things, and you can see that in his blends. This is also a spicy whiskey. It's got I would call this one a little bit more well balanced. It's got a lot more texture to it. It's got a little bit more sweetness for those bourbon drinkers that are looking for that sweetness. For me, a more typical kind of pour.
This would be right up your wheelhouse, right? With that much rye in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a blend made for Jim.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see myself sipping on this on a regular basis. If you're going to leave one of those bottles, you can leave that one.
I thought you'd like the high proof one.
I don't really, Mike. I'm perfectly fine with it. You know me.
Well, one of the bottles will get left with you.
you pick.
And you know what? That little book, yeah, I kind of like that little book, even though it's that spicy.
Yeah.
I liked that. That was it was something different. You know, love some different whiskeys, and that's the one thing about the podcast is taught me to open my eyes. And me and you have drank all kinds of crazy stuff out there. We drank some bottles that we don't like, but we'll still look at each other and like, man, we know or we don't know.
Yeah.
And we're like, we'll pass on that one. But this one, both of these,
really good. Now, chapter 1, I talked about the finish on that one. We talked about the hug on that one. So after the sip, right? After the sip is over, after you've been sitting there for a few minutes, you know, that chapter 1 little book kind of gave you this bear hug of a Kentucky hug, right? Really built up in the chest. But the finish was kind of a medium flavor finish, right? A good finish, a flavorful finish, an enjoyable finish, but not a super long finish. Now, this one is kind of a little bit different. This one for me, the hug is not as aggressive. It's not Anaconda kind of squeezing me to death here.
Yeah.
But the finish is flavorful and longer on this one for me.
This one has that buttery finish kind of where it coats your mouth and you can still kind of sip on it. So it's a little bit longer to me. Maybe those younger bourbons are smoothed out by that 15-year-old and that rye. But still, what a beautiful blend. Like I said on the last one, Freddie's did a really great job of taking those whiskeys that might not have been so great by themselves and made something super beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I said, this barrel and box program, this might be your only chance to get one of those bottles. So why not pause right now if you haven't yet and go ahead and join that club. 500 memberships. That's a pretty limited club. And I think it'll get bigger, but as they open up in different states, you don't know if you can get in it or not.
And like I said in the first half, if you want to hit that pause button and go get on the computer and get signed up for this, it's highly recommended. But I promise you, Mike and I will sit here and wait until you come back and hit that play button again.
Right? Yeah. If you're driving, make sure you pull over on the side of the road. Don't try to do this on your phone as you're driving. We'd appreciate that you be safe. We're definitely sitting down right now in, as I like to call it, Big Jim Shannon's bar and lounge down here in the basement, nice and cool on a 100-degree hot Kentucky day.
Now, after drinking a couple of, and these were decent pours you made, for both of these, you gave us a pretty healthy pour.
Yeah. We
might not be getting up.
Well, I hope so. Heck, I drive back home. Look, if I look at the two bottles, I poured them exactly. I don't know if I could have got any closer on those two bottles right there on the pours. That's an expert pourmanship right there.
Now on the chapter 5, there's a picture on the side of the bottle, right?
There is. It says Freddie with the ladies. I'm guessing one is his mother and probably one is his wife.
That would be a wise photo to take. One with your mother and one with your wife. There don't need to be any other ladies in there, right?
Yeah. Now I'll tell you, this is bottle number 23 of 500.
Uh-oh. There's 500 openings in the club. That means if you want one of these,
there's not that many left.
Yeah.
You better go ahead and just push pause right now. What we're drinking right now, I'll just bring it back out. Little Book Chapter 5, 116.8 proof, a blend of 4 different whiskeys, aging from 2 all the way up to 15 years, a malted, 100% malted rye whiskeys in that. And then 3 Kentucky straight bourbons in there. Super beautiful, though.
Yeah.
Super beautiful. Great representation. Beautiful bottle. You're not going to go wrong if you go ahead and join the club. Be one of those 500 members, either in Kentucky or in D.C. You got to live in one of those. You got to have an address, and your billing address on your credit card statement has to say Kentucky or D.C. Now, if you got a job here and that's where your address is, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, you know?
You just need to meet the requirements, right?
Yeah. And hey, me and Jim didn't set the rules for this. I got beat up for this, Jim, and somebody was like, these are crazy rules. I was like, well, I didn't set these rules, right? I didn't make these rules.
Well, let's just say this. If you're not in Kentucky and you're not in DC and you can't make arrangements to be part of this club, you just get to Kentucky. Come see Mike and I. Come to one of our events. Come visit us. We might just have a pour of this for you.
Yeah. Well, 2 great events they're going to be able to check us out at, Jim. Me and you're going to be at this thing called Duck Bourbon on September 25th.
You're the MC.
I am the MC at that. I'll be telling you what bourbon you want and what I think about it, what me and Jim think about it.
In that event, every single person leaves with a bottle, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Every duck they sell has a bottle of bourbon tied to it. Now, you might win a Pappy at that. You might win a bottle of JW at that. You never can tell what you're going to win. But you don't win anything if you don't buy any ducks. So that is Shelbyville or Shelby County's Habitat for Humanity, a good friend of ours, Pam Carter. She is a director of Habitat. She works with Habitat. It supports a great cause. If you don't know what Habitat for Humanity is, look it up. Jimmy Carter, he's in that all the time. He's helping out and stuff. But that program, I've worked on a couple of those projects in the past. If you really want to learn about it, the people that are getting that house, they have to put a lot of sweat equity into their own houses and stuff. And it goes to great families. There's a process that they have to go through to even get to make it to that, to building the house. So they have to go through almost a gauntlet of paperwork and inspections just to become a homeowner and stuff. And then they still got to put in sweat equity, have so many hours into their own house. And that's great. And then I think they also have to put sweat equity into other people's houses in Habitat for Humanity. So come out and support that if you can. Come shake hands, drink a little bourbon with me and Jim. It's going to be on an old farm, a beautiful setting. You get to hear me talk plenty. And if I'm drinking, I'm probably talking.
And if you can't seem to find anything on it, and you're kind of wanting to come, what's the date of that, Mike?
September 25th.
September 25th. Just reach out to Mike and I. We'll tell you at the end of the show how you can get a hold of us, and we'll respond and let you know exactly what the details are and how you can get to that.
Yeah. And then we're going to be, as I said in the first half of the show, Bourbon on the Banks in Frankfort, Kentucky on October 23rd. Now, we'll be there the 22nd to that night. And then we'll be there on the 23rd there in Frankfort. Come hang out with us at the Bourbon Road Lounge. Drink some bourbon with us. There's going to be all kinds of great stuff there. Bourbon swag. There'll be bourbon furniture there. Lots of bourbon. Over 40 different distillers are going to be there.
Mike's singing a song too.
Emma? What song is that?
I just thought I'd say that. Maybe.
I ain't the greatest of singers, but you get enough bourbon up in me, heck, I'll almost do anything. You never can tell.
A bottle of rum or something like that.
Yeah. Come check us out there. Come check out that great festival, Bourbon on the Banks. They're not limited to tickets, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a riverfront, so it's down along the river in Frankfort, Kentucky. You know, that's where Buffalo Trace is, right? Buffalo Trace Distillery is right there next to the river.
1.5 miles from Buffalo Trace.
Yes, but it's all along the river. So they said, you know, there's plenty of river and there's plenty of green space. Come one, come all.
We're working on a whiskey sponsor right now to sponsor our tent. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet.
We will have one.
We will have a bourbon
We're
sponsor.
shooting for a particular one.
A particular one with some mighty fine whiskey. The word there is whiskey. So I just say you're going to miss out on a great time. If you don't come, tickets for that event are $65. But I'll tell you this, Jim.
They get 40 bourbon pours.
40 bourbon pours.
Well, nobody can drink 40 bourbon pours, but they get to taste up to 40 bourbons.
Yeah, probably more than that. There's going to be 40 different distilleries there with many expressions.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you could drink a lot of whiskey there. If you have an Uber, we say drink responsibly. Probably not going to drink all those, but you definitely want to stop by our tent, the Bourbon Road Lounge, have a couple drinks with us. maybe even talk to us a little bit on the podcast. We'll have our gear there set up so we could do a little bit of recording with a couple fans maybe, and come out with an episode from that. We'll piece it together. We've did that in the past, right? A couple times.
Yeah.
So it'll be a great event. October 23rd, Bourbon on the Banks. Come meet us. Come buy some bourbon swag. We'll have our Bourbon Bullshitter t-shirt there. We'll have our Bourbon Road shirt there. We'll have some casts. We'll have some other swag. We'll have our Glencairns. Heck, you might even be able to buy the chairs that we're sitting in that day.
That's the goal, right?
That's the goal. Yeah.
Not to have to pack them out.
Yeah, most definitely. The other thing is we want to remind you of, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We have 4 tickets to that event. So look for that giveaway on Instagram and on our private Facebook group, the Bourbon Roadies. You'll have 2 chances to win that. So look for that post when I post it. That means you got to be following us to see it on Instagram, or you got to be a Bourbon Roadie to find it.
And we're going to tell them all about how to follow us and how to keep track of us and how to know all this stuff. Yeah. But I want to go back to this little book, chapter 5.
Let's do it.
And you're going to pour a little bit more. Oh my goodness, Mike. I'm going to pick a favorite.
Well, you already told us what your favorite was.
I like chapter 5 a little bit better.
Well, what's your thoughts on this club, though?
Yeah, I think it's the future, kind of the future for bourbon enthusiasts, people who claim a particular distillery or group of distilleries is kind of their profile. Mm-hmm. You know, if Jim Beam profile, the profile of their whiskeys is something that appeals to you. We all know the brand is the most popular, if not one of the most popular brands in the world. If that brand appeals to you, if it meets your profile and you'd like to get some of their elevated high-end whiskeys, I think there's no better way to do it. It's kind of an a la carte thing. It's $200 and some dollars, but you're getting whiskeys that you don't have to stand in line for. You don't have to do raffles to get. You don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars at your local liquor store building a relationship. You simply need to sign up and be one of the first 500 people to become part of that elite and exclusive club. And I would say if Jim Beam's profile, if Jim Beam products are those things that you seek out, you need to be signing up for this. Yeah, the other thing about this is there's no annual fee for it. Some clubs will have an annual fee. This has no annual fee. And they say right on their website, each shipment will cost between $100 and $300. So you know what it's going to cost you every 3 months. You can get out of it. Hopefully they'll expand it. I don't know if they will or not. 500 people buying whiskey. That's more than a lot of people think it is. Yeah. But I feel like they eventually will. You will have to have a signature for delivery, meaning somebody has to be at the house. The box will say must be 21 on it. Somebody will have to be there to sign for it. So you want to make sure you have that. I've heard some rumors before that UPS will send it back or FedEx will send it back. That's not how it works. I'll tell you that personally because it's happened at our house. What happens is they'll try to deliver it a second time, and then they'll keep a third time, and then they'll keep it at the store for you, and you'll have to go up to the store to sign for it. Eventually, you'll have to go up there and get it. And I think they keep it for a couple weeks before they ship it back. Yeah, it's a pretty long time before they send it back. So if you miss the delivery, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. They'll make another attempt and then another attempt, and then it'll be held at the local depot, and you can go pick it up. So no concerns there. Sometimes we have a neighbor that lives next door to us that works from home. She's obviously over 21. We'll put a note on her door if we know we're not going to be home. She'll take our deliveries for us and sign for our packages. Are you sure you get all your whiskey? Yes. I'm 100% sure. I think my neighbor's a little bitty feller. He's probably got a great bar, Mike. Well, he comes over all the time anyways, and I give him some pretty special pours and some pretty special bottles. Whenever we go out of town on the road, he watches the Woodrow the whiskey dog for us, and I gotta say, Kurt
probably has he has a pretty nice whiskey collection, because that's what I like to do, is bring back a bottle of whiskey for him every time we travel and say, hey, Kurt, have you tried this, or have you tried that? And yeah, that's the way to be, right? Share your whiskey.
All right. Well, Mike, any last words on the Little Book Chapter 5 before we sort of summarize?
No, it was great. I like it. I'll leave that bottle for you, though. I think you like it.
Are you sure?
This. Well, I took a second pour of it.
I think you kind of prefer that one too.
No, I'm good. I'm just as happy to take either one of these. Trust me. It doesn't bother me at all. I'd be proud to have either one on my shelf. I'm an experimental guy. That high proof, I'm the bigger of the guys, so I can handle that.
Yeah, chances are with your contacts, you're going to find another Chapter 5 anyway.
Well, you never can tell who's going to have a bottle of this sitting on their bar at their house. It's not like I can't come over here and pour. I don't think there's anything on your shelf that you haven't let me say, hey, Mike, you want to try that? Or just open up whatever you want to try.
Yeah, there's a few bottles up there that are just for you when you come over. So,
well, it's lucky to both of us have those great whiskey collections like that.
All right, Mike, where can people find us on the internet?
So you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Man, what else is out there?
We don't do Discord and we don't do Twitch.
I know what those kind of are, but I don't know what they are. So
I like Discord. I think it's a great platform, but you can only do so much.
We're not on Reddit either.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Reddit. I read Reddit, but I don't contribute too much.
Yeah, I don't get on there too much and stuff. The other place you can find us on is our website, thebourbonroad.com. You can leave comments on there. We'll answer you back. It might take us a couple days to get in there and answer the comments and stuff, but we are in there. You can leave comments for every article we write. So we do write articles in there. We leave our reviews in there. So if you're in a liquor store, you're looking for a whiskey, you get there, you can't find anything on it, go to our website and see. We'll try to tell you as much as possible about that whiskey in our review.
I think we're somewhere around 650 whiskeys reviewed now. So that's a lot of whiskey.
Yeah. Like the whiskeys that have been on our show and stuff. Check those out. We also have our swag on there, the Bourbon Bullshitter t-shirt that we're kind of famous for now. We got distillers wearing them, industry folks wearing them. It's nice to see when somebody's wearing one of those shirts. We have our Bourbon Road shirt that you'll be able to get. Those are fixing to be shipped out by the end of this week. I promise you, they're going out. We got them. We're about to send them out. Our t-shirts, our hats, our glasses. We're about to have some new swag in there. So check out that stuff. It helps us get down the Bourbon Road. It pays for gas in our pickups. It helps us buy new gear. You'd be surprised how much wear and tear gets on the gear.
We about wore these mic stands out.
Yeah.
I think they're about shot.
We get compliments every time we go into somewhere too. You guys have some good gear and stuff. We do great mics, great stands, great recording equipment. So, and Jim's got a great setup to edit our podcast, because it doesn't sound pretty whenever I'm just stuttering along.
I don't have to do too much editing on you, Mike. And I probably do just as much on me. The ums, right?
I'm always worried about nose whistles in my nose hair. Do you got nose whistles?
I don't hear them, but I imagine other people do.
I hear nose whistles, and I'm always worried about it. But then you listen to other podcasts, and other people don't have nose whistles. So mine sounds like a choo-choo train coming, though.
Well, I think I got a nose whistle filter on our effects rack that takes care of that, but who knows?
I call it a pair of tweezers at my house.
All right. Well, we do 2 shows a week. We do a short episode every Monday. We call it Craft Distillery Monday, where Mike and I sit down with a single expression. We kind of taste it and think about it and talk about it. And, it's our opportunity to take a look at a small distillery, a craft distillery, somebody who's trying to shine the light a little bit, get the word out about their product. Mike and I will review it and we'll tell you what we think. If you have a small distillery in your neck of the woods that you think we need to take a look at, we're always always eager to try a new whiskey. If there's a small distillery in your neck of the woods that you'd like us to try, let us know. You can send us a bottle, or you can just tell us the name of the distillery. We'll reach out to them. We'll figure it all out.
Most certainly. We
also do a long episode every Wednesday, like today's episode, where it's kind of an exhaustive study on a particular topic. We'll try, in this case, we tried 2 different bottles, 2 little books. Pretty darn good, Mike.
Pretty delicious.
Where we'll talk about a subject. We'll give you about an hour's worth of our wonderful jabber, and get you to work and get you home, right?
Well, we most certainly hope so. It'll make that drive shorter for you. It'll make it more enjoyable. It'll help you clear your mind, get you there. You'll be thinking about that whiskey when you get home. But in the meantime, Jim, what they really need to do is scroll on up, hit that subscribe button so you'll be reminded to listen to our episodes. You won't even have to remember it, really, because it's going to tell you about it. The app will say, hey, these 2 bourbon bullshitters got another episode coming out. So after you're done with that, you get home, you pulled over, scroll on down, hit that 5-star review for us. Because if you don't, the big bad booty daddy old Bourbon will come to your house wearing that bourbon bullshitter t-shirt. He'll be tugging along a bag of bourbon like a Santa Claus.
Little book, chapter 1.
Yep. We'll drink that. We'll have a great old time. By the end of the night, you're going to want to leave us a 5-star. I will guarantee you that.
And when you're not listening to the show and you're not leaving us reviews, there's always our private Facebook group called the Bourbon Roadies, a group of about 2,300 like-minded individuals that love to chit-chat about bourbon, share pictures, share stories, share bourbon, right?
Most certainly.
So it's all about opening that bottle and sharing that pour with a good friend. And, in that group, everybody's kind, everybody's good. There's no bashing, there's no trashing, there's no cutting off at the knees. You can pretty much expect to have a good time in there and not be too upset by the comments that other people make. So if you've been hassled a little bit, or you've been preyed upon in another group, feel free to come over to the Bourbon Roadies. I think you'll find a home there.
Most certainly. Great group of people. Man, I tell you what, they're almost like family to us, Jim.
Absolutely. So we do, like I said, 2 shows a week. We'd love to have you listen to both of them. We'd also like to know what you think about what we're doing. Mike mentioned commenting on the episodes, commenting on Apple Podcasts for us. That's always appreciated. But you can also send us comments directly. You can get on our website and hit our contact us form. Mike and I get it. We'll be happy to respond. Probably the best way, though, is to hit our DM on Instagram. I'm JShannon63.
I'm One Big Chief.
And we'll see you down
the Bourbon Road.